celebrating 48 years on the air. Award-winning Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, bird flu detected in Mississippi's poultry for the second time. Authorities taking action. In the markets, this month's supply and demand report made a big splash. In southern gardening, eddies in Lumberton again, this time finding color among the evergreens. And in our feature, wild hogs still a problem, an encore of our hogumentary with new details. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. As always, good to have you with us again here on Farm Week. Bird flu continuing to remain on the radar, this time in Mississippi, where it's now been detected for the second time. The Mississippi Board of Animal Health was notified recently that poultry from a chicken flock in Copiah County, that's south of capital city Jackson, had tested positive for the H5N1 virus. In a statement, it said, quote, "The state veterinarian has quarantined the affected premises and birds on the property have been depopulated to prevent the spread of the disease. Birds from the flock have not entered the food system. The Mississippi Board of Animal Health is working closely with federal animal health officials in Mississippi on a joint incident response." The board says bird flu does not present a food safety risk and that poultry and eggs are safe to eat when handled and cooked properly. The statement also says the Board of Animal Health is actively working with the poultry industry to increase monitoring of flocks statewide. The industry has been put on high alert to increase biosecurity and surveillance for the virus. The CDC maintains that the overall public health risk associated with bird flu remains low.
One of the many uncertainties farmers deal with in row crops is disease. A bad outbreak can not only destroy plants and reduce yields, but it can linger, affecting future crops too. Dr. Tom Allen at the Delta Research and Extension Center in Stoneville, Mississippi, gives us an inside look into the challenge of finding a scientific solution to these issues. In this case, he's talking about soybean taproot decline, a soil-based fungus.
We don't have an easy fix for that right now. And I have spent a silly amount of time since, August, maybe September. And it hit me when I had a retailer call and say, man, I just want to make these foliar symptoms late in the season go away. And I stopped dead in my tracks, probably an hour after I got off the phone with them because I was kind of grinding my teeth. And I thought, you know what? We're going about this all wrong. We're doing a good job looking at what I'd like to say is the seedling stage of that disease, because we have two stages of taproot decline. That is a seedling disease-causing organism. It'll kill seedlings, or it'll influence us late in the season and kill plants. We are still trying to figure out how to inoculate plots so that we can look at the late season part of that. And I don't know yet how we're going to do that. And that's the part that I continue to say, y'all got to be patient. But the first thing I'll say is this: please rotate. Put something else in that field, because I can tell you a story about a field that's in LaFleur County, and I'm going to talk about it more at short course and show some pictures. But the best way to manage this right now is do something different. Don't just continue to plant soybeans on the same bed over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's not a good integrated pest management strategy for a root-causing organism. And the other thing I'll say is, and I haven't said this very publicly right now, but it's in a thesis, that organism is a much bigger issue than what we have really wrapped our heads around, because it'll grow on everything. So that's starting to throw rotation out of the window, and I think we're working towards that. The problem is I can't sit here and tell you there is a fix right yet. And it is a big issue in some fields. It is not a big issue in the whole state. And there are a list of things right now that are really meaning we have to focus a bunch of time from a pathology standpoint on a list of things, including the taproot decline organism. But I mean, rest assured, we're working on it, but it ain't easy. And the other issue is we're working towards looking to see which varieties are more tolerant to that. The problem is the turnover in varieties right now makes it really difficult. And that's only going to get worse probably for the next, 2 or 3 years.
You saw Dr. Tom Allen last week on the row crop short course story, and that discussion was taken from the Mississippi Crop Situation podcast that includes many specialists from MSU Extension. These are the kind of conversations and information you'll find at events like the row crop short course and many other meetings Extension hosts throughout the state.
On the lighter side, time for this week's Southern Gardening. Eddie Smith in Lumberton, Mississippi, once again, that's south of Hattiesburg, with 2 examples of evergreen sheen. Here's Eddie.
Today, Southern Gardening is back at the Flower Bed Nursery in Lumberton, Mississippi, admiring some of their colorful evergreen shrubs. Juliet Cleara is a stunning evergreen shrub, known for its vibrant, multicolored foliage. The leaves emerge in shades of bronze or red before maturing to glossy green with white cream-colored edges, creating a dynamic and eye-catching display throughout the year. This compact and dense shrub typically grows 6 to 8 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide, making it an excellent choice for hedges. Hardy in USDA Zone 7 through 10, Juliet Cleara is a versatile and low-maintenance choice for any garden. Another colorful shrub, Miss Lemonabilia, is a versatile and attractive evergreen shrub, perfect for adding vibrant color and texture to the landscape. Its standout feature is its variegated foliage with bright yellow and green leaves that create a cheerful, luminous effect year-round in the landscape. Typically, Miss Lemonabilia grows to a compact size of 3 to 4 feet tall and is hardy in USDA Zone 6 through 9. Miss Lemonabilia also shows good resistance to deer and is relatively pest-free. Occasional pruning can help maintain its shape, though it naturally grows in a tidy, rounded form. With their vibrant evergreen foliage, both of these plants provide year-round color in gardens and landscapes. I'm Eddie Smith, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, Mississippi's wild hog problem. We look forward by looking back a few years. In August of 2017, Farm Week ran a hogumentary, a look at what even then was already an exploding wild hog population. It's no laughing matter. Wild hogs destroy land and crops. We'll take a look at the numbers and see just how serious the problem is now. A hogumentary encore coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believe in my own work and in the opportunity I have to make my life useful to humanity. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families that I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith. I believe that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. I believe that these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance towards the views of others. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Time for the market report, a big development recently.
And quite unexpected. This month's WASDE report made major waves in the markets. We'll get into it, but first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then, this month's WASDE report. What were the biggest takeaways? And finally, the fallout. Two market experts help us understand what the traders are thinking now. So, markets closed the week with a turnaround. Most commodities up with a few exceptions. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, soybean oil up over 5.5 cents, an over 14% increase from the previous week. That is a big move. The week's biggest loss, sugar, down nearly 0.5 cent, a near 2.25% decrease from the previous week. So this month's WASDE report dropped, and boy did it drop. Some big adjustments in soybeans and corn making the biggest impact. But before we hear from the experts, here's Bella Bingham with what it said.
U.S. wheat supplies up due to higher imports. Feed and residual use unchanged, while seed use up 2 million bushels. Exports unchanged, while ending stocks up slightly. Season average farm price $5.55 per bushel. Global wheat supplies up slightly due to higher production in Syria and Pakistan. Consumption slightly down along with trade due to less exports from Russia and Ukraine. Ending stocks slightly raised. U.S. corn production and total use down. Feed and residual use also down, while exports cut 25 million bushels. Due to this, stocks lowered 198 million bushels. Season average farm price $4.25 per bushel. Global corn production up mostly in China, Ghana, and Russia. Ending stocks down slightly by 3 million tons. U.S. rice production up, biggest increases in Texas and Missouri. Yield estimated a record 7,748 pounds per acre. Domestic and residual use also up, while ending stocks lowered. Season average farm price $15.60 per hundredweight. Global rice supplies down slightly, mostly due to lower production in China. Consumption also down along with trade. As a result, ending stocks down 0.3 million tons. U.S. soybean production down along with harvested area. Yield estimated down by 1 bushel per acre. Imports slightly higher, while exports unchanged with crush. Ending stocks down 90 million bushels. Season average farm price $10.20 per bushel. Global soybean exports unchanged, while crush raised. Ending stocks down due to lower stocks in Brazil and the U.S. U.S. beef, pork, broiler, and turkey production all lowered in the fourth quarter 2024. Egg production also lowered due to HPIA flock culling. For 2025, beef and pork production forecast estimate increases, while poultry production estimated lower due to continued culling. U.S. milk production lowered due to less inventories and milk per cow. 2025 forecast predicts continued slow milk output. Butter, cheese, non-fat dry milk, and whey prices projected to increase. 2025 all milk price forecast $23.05 per hundredweight. U.S. cotton production increased due to higher national yield. Projected exports lowered, while ending stocks raised. Season average farm price 65 cents per pound. Global cotton production up, mostly due to increases in China's crop, while larger crops projected for Australia and the U.S. Consumption also raised due to increases in Bangladesh and Vietnam. Projected exports and ending stocks increased.
Now, I know all that data may make it seem like what the report said was no big deal, but keep in mind that these adjustments to row crop numbers in particular caused a big market shift. Analysts Ted Seifert and Matt Bennett give us an idea of what the buyers and sellers are thinking right now.
Trade expectations come from analysts like us, and when we're asked by the news agencies, they're not asking us what we think the U.S. national average yield is. They're asking us what we think the USDA is going to say on this report. And that's a big difference, because I think the market had been factoring in numbers, yield numbers, production numbers, carryover numbers that were lower than what the average trade guesses were. There's a lot of people that have been pushing long positions for quite some time, expecting to see eventually the numbers that we saw today. Now that we have them, it really makes you wonder, are they going to continue to buy this market? Is there a reason to be bullish longer term? Or was this just the final realization of what we've been talking about since, well, corn's low was in August, beans was in the middle of December. You know, so I don't know. That's something that I'll be wrestling with for the next few days and going into next week.
You know, some farmers like, hey, you know what, if I could get to 470, I'd go ahead and sell some corn. Well, guess what? You had your opportunity. But in a day like this, sometimes if you don't have your offer in, you're not going to get a hit. You know, when I saw this report today, I thought it was pretty interesting. You go back to some of the things Ted was talking about that we've seen over the course of time. Obviously, excessively dry August. We know it robs some bushels, but the other thing is the moisture content coming out of the field. I mean, a lot of 11 and 12% corn coming out of the field. 9, 8, 7% beans. Those things factored their way in eventually, but a 3.8 bushel yield drop for me in January is quite interesting, that we're just now figuring out that it's a 3.8 bushel yield drop. Last month, you raised demand 200 million bushel. You took 75 of that back this month before this, but bottom line is today, it was somewhat of a gift for the grower. I mean, quite frankly, I hope that the grower will look at it as a gift, because a gift's not a gift unless you accept it. So I think we've got to at least take a look at this. You know, and what's basis going to do from this point forward? I mean, you've got to assume, you know, with an end user that has bought a lot of corn here in the last few weeks, basis is going to have to widen out here whenever you take this kind of a jump up in the market.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. There's an energy surrounding row crops right now. Don't know how long that'll last, but we could see a rebound in prices. Mike?
Thanks, Zach. Up next, when you're a farmer, the bottom line is everything. The weather and fluctuating commodity prices alone are enough to cause a few sleepless nights. So the last thing you need to worry about is a wild animal damaging fields and disrupting your operation. The video you're about to watch was first produced in 2017, but the problem still exists. So this week in Encore, we examine the feral hog problem that's still affecting Mississippi, Texas, and other states across the Southeast. Experts are still actively working to find a solution. Here's our hogumentary.
I don't think currently there is a county in Mississippi that does not have a hog walking on it right now. If populations keep expanding over the next 10 years, 10 to 15 years, like they've done the last 10 to 15 years, we're going to go from about half of Mississippi land area occupied by wild hogs to 100%.
A home just out on the edge of town, pigs had come into the fellow's yard there and rooted up his yard. And I heard a lot of people talking about after that, we didn't realize there were these, wild pigs in the area. Well, they're here.
7 years ago, as we're hunting, me and my son, I found a wallow. I knew what it was when I saw it, and I asked a friend of mine that hunts in the same bottom, and he said he had actually saw a hog turkey hunting. The following year, we got to seeing more sign. The next year, the population exploded, and we said we're going to start trapping hogs.
I did one site visit where probably 80% of the yard was rooted up. They did use a game camera, and I think they counted about 18 pigs in this group.
If in 10 to 15 years 100% is occupied by wild hogs, the damage estimates are going to be out of control. It's going to negatively impact so many people's lives. And we're going to look back in the early 2000s and 2010, 2015, and wish we had acted on it. So now's the time to act before it's too late. We've had hogs, wild hogs in Mississippi for probably well over 50 years. And they were isolated in small pockets just like in a lot of the U.S. But it's really over the past 20 years, and especially the last 15 to 10, is what we've seen this rapid expansion. We probably have a couple 100,000 hogs in Mississippi, whereas in places like Texas you have in the millions. So we're not there yet, and we don't want to get there, but we certainly have enough to be causing a tremendous amount of damage.
Initially we thought, well, wow, that's neat. We've got pigs here that gives us something else to hunt, and it was kind of novel for us. But that real quickly that changed, and we began realizing the damage that they did, and it just I got to be where I didn't like to see pigs anymore, didn't want a pig anywhere near the place. My objective with my property is to promote wildlife as much as I can. My family and friends, we hunt here. I plant probably 15 to 20 acres of food plots each year, and you know, it's really frustrating. When the pigs come through and destroy it, that's gone. All that time and effort, the money that it costs to buy seed and fertilizer, you know, that effort's gone. The hog numbers have increased and our deer numbers have decreased. It's affected our enjoyment of the property. My objective with this place is to make it into a premier wildlife habitat. It's very difficult to do with the pigs. I love this land. It's an important place for me and my family. In a lot of ways, my children have grown up here with me. We spent a lot of time here together, a lot of quality time. I want my family to be able to continue to do this, you know, for many generations. I hope that they can.
They get into a hay field and they can just tear it up like a bomb went off in it, and it makes the ground just terribly rough. Of course, it kills what's there. It's just like somebody disc a field up and didn't do anything to it. I mean, they just tear it up, and grass grows back over, and you don't even know it's there. Monetarily, the damage it does to us would be damage to our hay fields, and then just wear and tear on your equipment. I mean, banging around with a hay baler and a tractor is just rough on them, and the more you beat them up, the quicker they're going to wear out. So, you know, you may not realize that the money's coming out of your pocket tomorrow, but 5 years down the road, well, here's a big bill, and it was caused by all this rough ground that you rode over. I'm a small-time guy. I don't have a big profit margin to start with, so anytime that I waste money, it hurts my bottom end on the, you know, whether I make a profit or not.
We've heard this so many times at our workshops when we're working with landowners. Someone will come up and say, you know, 5 years ago we saw the first hog and we thought it was kind of cool. And literally all these people will say within 3 to 5 years, now they're completely out of control. Literally this animal can have a reproductive rate 2 times that of white-tailed deer. And everyone knows how many deer we have throughout the U.S. and throughout Mississippi. And so our role in extension is, number one, we want to educate people and let them know that you don't want this animal on your property. And then secondly, if you have hogs, if you are currently experiencing damage, let's educate you on one of the best, most cost-effective and efficient techniques for trapping them and limiting their populations.
The website that we created, wildpiginfo.com, has been a good delivery system. We have on there different material like how to build a trap. We have diagrams, how to place trail cameras for monitoring the trap. We tried to think of everything possible that someone would want to know about wild hogs.
The website that we have, the videos that we have, you know, we're literally all throughout North America. A lot of people know Mississippi State Extension and what we're doing with the hog damage program. So I want to know and hope that Extension has played a role causing the decline, at least in some areas, of wild hogs.
Trapping wild hogs is a big challenge. The ones that have had success have pretty well followed our protocol that we outlined. You've got to scout the area out, you put out trail cameras, you try to get an idea of how many hogs there are. No running dogs, no shooting while you're trying to trap, and being able to get them in a trap.
What I hope people will take away from this video is first of all an understanding of how serious this problem is, so that we can, in general, the citizens of Mississippi can stand up and say, we don't want this. Hopefully, we can stop this in its tracks before it gets any worse.
Great story. And as I said earlier, a problem that still exists, and as former anchor Leighton Spann said back in 2017, the type of problem that still won't be corrected quickly or easily. Quick note, that website address mentioned in the story was changed a while back. It's now wildpiginfo.msstate.edu. It's an extension website, wildpiginfo.msstate.edu. A lot of good information there. Also, Zach was part of the crew that shot the video for that story. Easy to see why the wild hogs are such a nuisance.
That's right, Mike. You saw some of the hogs that were in that trap, and I shot some of that footage. And when I was out there, you saw that the sow and her offspring, they were freaking out pretty good. And she was banging up against the side of that trap with her snout. You could see how much power and devastation those things can do.
And why they can cause so much damage. One last note, next week we'll have a follow-up on this story, an interview with Ag Commissioner Andy Gibson. Mississippi has an in-depth wild hog control program. Commissioner Gibson will bring us up to date on the current situation, give us some insight, and tell us more about that program. And also, next time on Farm Week, it won't be long until this year's Dixie National, but first, one last chance to visit last year's event. Zach and I partnered up for this one. More than 1,000 young people competed throughout the year, showing more than 2,000 head of pigs, sheep, cattle, and goats.
Plus, we talked to Emma Grace Putnam, a hardworking young lady who showed her champion lamb in the sale.
And encore, the 2024 Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions. That's next time on Farm Week.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week. Thanks for watching.